So this is a Guy Ritchie movie, for sure. It's got his fingerprints all over it, but don't go into it thinking it's going to be the crazy wild ride of a movie like Snatch or The Gentleman. It's got a distinctive Guy Ritchie touch, but different at the same time. So today I was able to check out an early access screening of the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. And it stars Henry Cavill, oh my gosh, I don't know how to say her name, Eiza Gonzalez, I think, and Alan Ritchson. I think it has Henry Golding in it too, because I thought I saw his name on the credits, and some other people in this film that is apparently based on true life events. At the very beginning, they have a little text thing that pops up saying something about information that was declassified in 2016 or something that has to do with some things that happened during Churchill's time in World War II, like a mission or some stuff that went on that the overall public did not know about. I didn't realize this at first when I found out about the movie initially. Then later I read or heard that it was supposed to be based on a true story, and I was like, okay, well, this is interesting. I wonder if it's going to be as entertaining as I was hoping, or was it going to be a disappointment like Operation Fortune was from last year? And my overall verdict for this film is that it's entertaining, it's well constructed, it's not super action-packed, so don't go in expecting that. It's not like this crazy nonstop adventure sort of thing, Indiana Jones swashbuckling, whatever. There is quite a bit of action in it, but the bulk of it is not action. The bulk of this story is basically setting the framework for this mission that is taking place or going to take place, showing how they got the group together, showing these different obstacles along the way or the different things that they had to take care of along the way, some obstacles that came up towards the end and how they had to kind of think outside the box and figure out a way around that. And then at the very end of this film was a really nice touch of showing us pictures of the real people that this story is based on and what happened to them after the events that take place in this movie. Now, I have not done in-depth investigation into what was true, what wasn't true, what was highly dramatized, what wasn't, things like that. I'm sure there's some of that thrown in there, but it's just interesting to me that this seems to be pretty heavily rooted in a real thing that happened. Like I said, I have not investigated fully. If you're a Guy Ritchie fan, I think you will enjoy this film, but as I mentioned in the beginning, it's got a different sort of spin on it. Like, you can tell it's a Guy Ritchie film, but at the same time, it feels a bit muted from typical Guy Ritchie, if that makes any sense. It was strange. It was certainly enjoyable. I wasn't disappointed in it. It was very plot heavy. It was detail heavy on these different things that had to happen in order for this mission to be a success. And I liked all the different characters that it showed in there. There was a touch of comedy. It wasn't as comedic in nature as, let's say, something like Snatch or The Gentleman, the typical Guy Ritchie humor. It wasn't that comedic. There were little glimmers of it, but overall, this was a pretty serious movie. The acting in here was good. Henry Cavill, his character is like the main sort of lead of this group that has to carry out this particular mission, and they're doing their thing while Eiza Gonzalez and her partner in this mission are doing their thing. And so then it shows the sequence of events for each of these groups and how they culminate to this climactic end. And overall, it was quite fun. I was glad that I was able to see this early, about a week early, the weekend before its official release. I will probably watch this again when I get back home because I'm still in New Jersey, obviously. When I get back home, I do plan to watch this again because I know that Arturo is pretty interested in it. I stayed away from the trailer for this film, but I do know that there was a shot, or at least part of a shot, that was not in the movie that showed up in the trailer. And that was just the image that was like, it's a still shot image that I saw often from the trailer of Henry Cavill, like sticking his tongue out or something after, I guess he had shot a bunch of Germans or something. The part with him sticking his tongue out, that did not happen in the movie. Not that particular moment. And I was a little disappointed because I was looking forward to seeing how that was going to play out. But anyway, whatever. It's a minor sort of complaint. I don't really have any cons. I mean, if I had the con, maybe it would be that it wasn't the fast-paced, more action, more comedy sort of thing that is typical for Guy Ritchie. But at the same time, this was a completely different story. So that's not really a con, in my opinion. It was interesting to see Issa. I really need to pay attention to how her name is pronounced, but I've known this chick since I saw her in From Dusk Till Dawn, the TV series, and then she was in most recently Three Body Problem, which I'm still watching. But it was interesting to see her play a British person. She has an excellent command of the English language. It's pretty much impossible to detect any sort of accent. She is Mexican. She was born and raised in Mexico, but she very obviously got an education that involved English and intense English because her command of the language is absolutely perfect. I find no flaws in her enunciation. Honestly, she's got a little bit of a teeny tiny, very sliver hint of dialect, but it's not necessarily enough to let you know specifically where she's from. In this one, she played an English person, and I personally felt like she did a really good job. Now, maybe native English speakers would listen to her and be like, no, she did terrible. But to me, she was convincing. And so that was interesting to see. I was not expecting her to play someone like that. It was also interesting to see Ian Fleming represented in here because he is in this movie. His character is in this movie, and they do reference things that were an inspiration for him, for the character of James Bond, or a particular person that he kind of modeled the character of James Bond after. That was fascinating. I mean, I already knew Ian Fleming was kind of involved in wartime stuff and like missions or spy stuff or whatever. I mean, I knew he had his fingers in that to some degree. I did not expect that he was going to show up in here as a character. So that was kind of cool. This takes place in 1942. It involves the lead up to the U.S. fully entering the war. There are issues with the German U-boats causing problems for the Americans as they're trying to get over there to the campaign in Europe. Basically, this story deals with the mission that was put together to try to deal with that situation. So this was a fun time with a twist. Not your typical Guy Ritchie fun, but still fun from Guy Ritchie. Maybe you'll know what I mean when you check it out. But anyway, if you do check it out, let me know what you think. I do plan to go digging and finding out comparisons between fiction or comparisons between this movie and reality, what really happened. Maybe if there were characters that were fictionalized. There was a character that I thought was fictionalized, and it turns out they were not. So that was interesting to discover at the end because, you know, like I said, it was talking about different people in films. I look forward to seeing it again and hearing your thoughts on it whenever you guys get a chance to. All right, that's it for this video. Hasta luego.